Good afternoon. My name is Amanda Simpson. Today I'm going to talk to you about my book talk number 4 for my storyboard, Runaway Ralph. My office is a little awkward for video recording, and the height of the board just added to that awkward position. So I took pictures of my storyboard, and as we talk about the book, Runaway Ralph, I'm going to refer to my PowerPoint presentation. I just took pictures and put it on the slide, but I will introduce my board. So without any further ado, the center of my board, the top center, includes the title of my book, author and illustrator. The top right includes the publishing information for this book. Bottom right is the summary. Top left is the theme of the book. Bottom left is the setting. And then in the center are my meet the characters. I chose Runaway Ralph as a 5th grade reading teacher many years ago. I enjoyed the Ralph series as a student myself, but I really enjoyed using it in my classroom. I would use Runaway Ralph for 4th or 5th graders. I would actually include it for 3rd grade enrichment. If I had students who are identified as gifted, or those that maybe they're not identified as gifted, but they're achieving above benchmark, they certainly can handle the plot and the vocabulary and the sentence structure of this book. Beverly Cleary is an engaging author. She wants the reader to enjoy the book. Is the whole purpose for Runaway Ralph is just to entertain the reader. There's a couple of serious moments here and there, but nothing too heavy-hearted. It's something that every middle schooler experiences. So they can relate. Students can relate to the book, and I believe that that is her goal, is for the reader to be able to relate to the book. So I'll just go through my board. The title is Runaway Ralph. It's written by Beverly Cleary and illustrated by Lewis Darling. And I'll switch slides so you can maybe see it a little bit better. In my research, I learned that Lewis Darling is the original illustrator for this book. It is a chapter book, so there aren't many pictures in it. What few pictures are there are really black and white sketches. But this was Darling's last illustration before he passed away. I found that interesting. I connected to that book as a child, and it was his illustration that guided me as I read through the book. I had to visualize as I read and comprehended, and the cover illustrator helped me as the plot develops. And even still, as a teacher, it's the illustration that guides my reading, guides my imagination. So we'll flip to the publishing information. Sorry about that. Publishing information. It was published in 1970 through HarperCollins Publishing Company. HarperCollins published a lot of children's literature in 1970s. It is still a publishing company today, but it was one of those few that published children's literature in the 70s. And like most publishing companies in the 70s, it was located in New York. I'm going to flip back so I can introduce my characters of this book. So let's meet the characters in Runaway Ralph. I have Garth, Ralph, and Chum. These are my main characters throughout the book. You'll have a few here and there that are short introductions, but the entire book is centered around these 3 characters and their relationship among each other. The main character or protagonist is Ralph. He meets Garth at summer camp, and he also meets Chum. And all of them have a similar problem, and I'll talk about that when I get to theme. But each one of their problems are solved at the end of the story just by realizing what their center problem, their inner conflict was. By solving that, then they were able to solve their life problems, their problems in real-time events. So let's look at my summary. Let me make sure I can click to it right. Let's meet the characters. There's summary. All right, my brief summary reads like this. Ralph S. Mouse grows tired of the life and ways at the Mountain View Inn. He leaves one day on a gifted motorcycle, headed to Happy Acres Camp. There he meets a disgruntled hamster, Chum, and a boy, Garth, who needs Ralph as much as Ralph needs him. Ralph helps Garth out of a pickle, and Garth helps Ralph back home. So Garth, our character, is just a middle school boy. He's at summer camp. He really doesn't want to be at summer camp. He's a little awkward. He doesn't quite fit in. And Ralph helps him through these problems. But Garth's biggest problem is that he gets accused of something that he did not do. And so Ralph helps Garth, and in return, Garth helps Ralph get back to Mountain View Inn because he realized that's where he really needed to be and not at Happy Acres Camp. And Chum finds a home. Chum wasn't incredibly happy with his placement in life, but he realizes, just like Ralph and just like Garth, that things aren't quite as bad as what you make them out to be. And then if you learn to be happy where you are, your outlook improves. Well, let's see if I can get to my theme. So that brings me to my theme. I've given you just a little bit of the conflict there. Didn't go into a lot of detail for each character's conflict, but all of the conflict starts with this theme with each character, that the grass is not always greener on the other side. And by the end of the book, they all realize that. Again, Cleary's whole purpose of this book is to entertain, is to make you laugh. It's just a feel good book. So not really anything sad. Everything a child, 4th or 5th grade child, can certainly relate to. My setting is the Mountain View Inn. The book begins at the Mountain View Inn. That's where everything is kind of set up. That's where my theme begins, where Ralph is just unhappy with his life at the Mountain View Inn. And he makes this trip across the greener grass to Happy Acres Camp to realize that there are problems there too. So most of the book is set around Happy Acres Camp. We know at the end of the story, Ralph does make it back to Mountain View Inn, and he's happy to be home in one piece. I will use this storyboard this school year. I'm hoping that it's going to capture my 4th graders, or maybe even some of my 3rd graders' attention, and it will hopefully make them want to read this book. I tried to include just enough information to make them curious, and I use language like get out of a pickle that would be interesting to them. I typically choose a 3rd or 4th grade group every year, either for enrichment or intervention, and we just work together all year long. So I'm hoping once I put this in the library and they look at it, that those children will choose this to read with me first. So I've enjoyed being a part of this class. I've enjoyed your presentations and learning from you and your perspectives in the roles that you fulfill at your schools. I just want to say thank you. It's been a good term.